There used to be that foundation, and I don't think it's gone, but I think I see it deteriorate.
Great, thank you. Steve?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely deteriorated. People aren't really interested. I don't have a problem if people don't want to be bothered by their local government or by their government. Some people just want to be left alone. But I would say that Mr. Reed's idea of music, some kind of music thing. I mean, when you think about the Folk Fest, I mean, that's historic. You know, everybody in Pennsylvania knows about it. Anybody in the area. You know, if there was a way that we can encourage something like that, maybe somebody that has 75 acres or something wanted to do something on their property. I mean, I think that would be a great idea. I think also, you know, when you think about like code enforcement, my father-in-law was a code enforcer in the township in Delaware County, and he used to go to people's places, and they'd be all pissed off at him, like, what are you know, like thinking that he was the devil. And he was really good as at explaining to them that he is looking out for the residents' best interest. So the code enforcement, they should be making sure that the electric is proper, you know, the plumbing is proper, you know, everybody's up to code on things that make sense. And he would explain, you know, this guy's giving you a cheap price, and that might be great for you now, but 2 years from now, when your toilet's back up because you got 1-inch pipe instead of 2-inch pipe, he had a great way of explaining it to me, then you're going to, you know, wonder what the problem is. And I'm here to help you make sure that you don't make those bad decisions. So that's how we should approach code enforcement. I also think, you know, the personal touch, the personal visits, if township supervisors and township people, you know, were at the concert, you know, the Gashbahappen fair, and we're at community days, and I don't want to say wear a special hat or something, you know, but introduce themselves to a lot of people, and whenever there's an event, try to talk to as many people as possible. I think if we did something like a music something, spending very little or no taxpayer money, but there's ways to you know, the state has grants, there's ways to do fundraisers to build a community, maybe with some special events, so to speak, that doesn't cost us money, but gives us people a chance to see what we're doing for them. And I think those are like simple ways that we could increase pride in the community. I think it would be a good deal if we could do that.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. I think we need to get back to the roots of how things used to be done. I think going around talking to people is great. You learn a lot from them. But just having this meeting here, formal setting, where we're talking business, I think we need to have more of that, more of a town hall, potluck, get together, where it's not about making rules or doing business in the township, but it's about getting to know everybody. You know, getting to know Mr. Anthony's kids or Ms. Lisa's kids or whatever, my kids, getting to know your kids. And it's tough in our community because it is so dislocated. We're so far urban, and it makes it hard. It's great to be this way, but it's got some drawbacks. So if we had smaller events where we could get people together and our kids start knowing each other and stuff like that, I think that would be great. We need to have, the township residents need to have more to do so that they don't look at us as the rulers or the government or the bad people. And they look at us more as, yeah, we're one of you. We live here just like you do, and we want to do what's best for all of us together. Okay? We want to stop serving individuals and small groups of people and get everybody involved. And I think once you get to know people, you'll start developing pride in your community. There's things in the community that we might be able to change by getting them, instilling a little pride in them maybe. Like some of these areas around here that need to be cleaned up, you know, I don't know, have area or zoning competitions, you know, clean up your street, clean up your neighborhood, whatever. And let people take it upon themselves to clean up the stuff instead of having the township or the zoning officer come out and say, yo, you gotta do that, and you get run off because you're afraid you're gonna get shot or something. There's some properties around here that are pretty bad, and I mean, one in particular, that's the only issue I haven't complained, it hasn't been answered yet. But one in particular is turning into a homeless encampment.
Yeah.
And that's right in our township, okay? There's no pride there. And we as a community, we want to have stuff like that taken care of, so we do have our pride. Because it's horrible, because the house right across the street is beautiful. He meticulously takes care of his gardens and his trees and everything, and right across the street from him is like, So I think it's real important to bring back pride. But go back to how many people remember having family reunions where you had 400 or 500 people at this gathering and you were related to them one way or another? Why can't we have, you know, community reunions and not just community day? Get-togethers like, you know, how do churches do? Food. If you bring food, people are coming. Have potlucks. You know, bring a dish, come share. We can meet your neighbors. We have a pavilion. We can use it for stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, let's start utilizing some of our stuff and getting people to come out and get to know them.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you all.
Oh, we're done.
No.
One last question.
We got a community question, right?
We didn't get there yet.
Oh.
You're getting ahead of yourself, Christie.
Better check on the agenda.
So let's go to the community questions now. Does anybody have any questions for any of these candidates here? Anything you want to ask these gentlemen here? Mr. Marriott?
I have a question. This is directed towards taxes. So I was just wondering I know how Mr. O'Neill probably feel about this from what his responses were, but I'm going to put it to you anyway. If there would be a tax increase of a small per capita tax for an open space fund that would go in just like New Hanover did, even if we got grants, the grants are never enough to fund everything all together. What we'd be looking at is to combine them so we could buy open space, keep it in the township used as recreational facilities. Because what ends up happening, if we don't buy it, the developer buys it, they'll come in, build on it, then the township's stuck with the infrastructure costs, which are going to triple fold your taxes somewhere down the line. Where we could have actually had that small increase, so we could actually keep that as open space and preserve that property. I would just like to know how each of you feel on that. Thank you.
Want me to go first? I'm happy to go first. All right, so I'm looking at a map of Upper Frederick Township zoning map. And it looks to me like we have a tremendous amount of R80 land preservation district. And so I know at maybe the last meeting that I don't know what the exact rules are, but as a township, we have certain rules that we have to follow from the state. We have to have a certain amount of R40 or 60, is that true, or an industrial? So, I mean, it looks to me like we have a pretty good plan in place on the zoning map. I don't know if that has to do with reality or not. And like I said, I think if you have 75 acres and you're willing to, the county and the state would be willing to buy your land and you know, make sure that it's open space and never used again. And I think if you're a public person, and you know, if that's your goal, you can certainly look towards that. But I just can't see spending people's money. It's not our money to spend. It's not, you know, if you go to every person in the township and you go, yeah, you know, we're going to charge you an extra $150 a year because we want to buy land over here, you know, and you get most of them to say yes, I think that's a great idea. If you wanna, if you wanna run on that, you know, that I'm gonna raise your taxes 2% and have open space, because I think that's a great idea. You know, if you're for that, I think that's fine. But to just do it without just deciding here that we want to do that without running on something like that, I think is a, you know, when you're in government, it's easy to spend other people's money. You know, you can feel like you're doing something really good, but you have to keep in mind, it's not your money. So if you want to do something like that, I guess I'm pretty passionate about it. If you want to do something like that on your own, you have 10 acres, you want to sell it, I think it's great. And you're going to be able to do that. But don't make me pay for it. That's what I would say. I hope that answers your question.
Sort of. I'm on the other side of the coin a little bit, but it's only because I've researched and I know it's available for us. And one, we can't, as a board, we can't decide that, okay? It's got to be a referendum that goes out to the voters, okay? It's not up to supervisors to say, we're doing it. We can't. It goes to you guys, okay? And it's up to the township to say, yeah, I want to keep working, the residents, I want to keep it this way. And once they see the presentations of what it will actually cost, and then you have your grants, you have state agricultural grants, you have county open space grants, there's all kinds of things you can do to fund this. And it's not about preserving open space just for us, but it's for her, it's for her kids. Because once it's preserved, once we own the rights, it's in perpetuity. Never can it be developed. And what people aren't thinking about, there's a lot more to open space than just not having buildings there, okay? Our trees, our wetlands, our farmlands and everything, especially our greenery, that has a big impact on something that is so critical to life for us that you can't just ignore it, is our water system, our water table. They all do stuff to filter our water and keep our water drinkable, and our water is beautiful. My well water is great. It's one of the reasons I bought my house, because I used to live over in Sellersville, and you drink our water, it was horrible. I tasted the lady off, we were viewing the house, lady off, would you like a glass of water? I'm like, you're doing good. Because I was thirsty, I thought she was going to give me bottled water. She didn't, she gave it on a tap. I'm like, I drank it, it's like, wow, this is good water. Oh yeah, it's well water. I'm like, yeah, that was good. But we start not preserving the open space, we start knocking down our trees, our wildlife's not going to be able to commute back and forth. We're going to be running them over the roads. Okay, our water table is liable to either go dry or go contaminated. We don't want none of that stuff. That is, water especially is critical to life. And that's what open space is about. It actually lowers your health insurance rates for people that have it. It's a big study that Delaware Valley Community College did, or their land preservation solution people down there did. And I guess I'm getting ahead of myself though. Like I said, it's not something that the board can do. It's something that would be on a referendum and the people would decide. But it will be explained, it's explained what the percentage is and what it is in real money, not just mills or whatever stuff they start talking about. But they'll tell you real dollars.
If we vote for it, I'll be happy. I just don't want to make a decision.
That's
It's not
right.
my money.
That's right.
It's not my money, that's what I would say.
I'll go next. I'm just gonna say here to Bill, but I'm gonna add a bit to it. You know, I don't know as much as Bill. I don't know very much about it, but from the little that has been explained to me, and I may be talking out of ignorance here, so please forgive me if I am. But that money isn't just going out there. Ideally, it's going back to our community. It's going back to our residents. Granted, it's not all of our residents, but I like to think about it as, you can think about it as we're paying to keep it green. Because it is more than just an open field. It's more than monocrop fields. It's the forests that have been cut down and are now regrowing. It's our water table. It's the land that, for better or worse, I know we're an agricultural community, but old agriculture practices weren't ideal, you know, they could be destructive, and so rebuilding our ecosystem is really important. Of course, there's a lot of benefits to it. I mean, I'm here to support it, but I do agree, whatever is decided needs to be reflected by the community's majority.
Guess I'm next.
No, but
According to our most recent version of the comprehensive plan, 80 to 85% of the township's biggest concern is the urban sprawl and the pressure of development. We are the last agricultural district in Montgomery County, and if, when it's gone, it's gone. Bob, you coined this, and I stole it from you many times. The housing developments are the final crop. And the thing is we do have zoning, but that zoning did change in the mid-2000s. What you're talking about is that the Fair Share Act, and there's never, nobody will ever give you an exact number. If we built up every square inch of that R40 and R60, nobody will ever commit to saying, well, we fulfilled our fair share. So guarantee they're going to say, well, you got to have more fair share, and then you're going to have more fair share. I don't look at it in the next 5 years. I mean, I've witnessed it my whole life. I watched it happen in 20 years. Just land parcels, the whole area. The Upper Frederick's a small township, but areas down the line further just full of housing developments. I've worked in some of them down in Chester County. There's Toll Brothers have swaths of land, that'll cover a quarter of this township just alone in just one segment. And then it's followed up by Pulte Brothers and Lennar Homes. So it's massive. The problem with the zoning then is this. Right now in the state, and it's not just the state, but the federal government's been trying to do it, but the state right now is talking, both Republicans and Democrats, about taking over our zoning. So we won't even have a right. So they'll remove the zoning from us. I mean, it's a big deal, because what they're trying to do is say, areas like this, we need, we're not, it's not fair that we have this green space. The people from the city should move out, and we need to be building homes that are accessible to people of all income levels. Well, that's fine. That's fine. But we could build up every square inch of this township, and it's not going to solve the housing crisis. It just won't. It just won't. So we have these issues with the state that's trying to remove zoning from all municipalities in light of just forced houses. I also agree, with the Constitution, you have your property, and you should be able to do with it as you want. But we do have a water table that we have to take into consideration, because it's not just Upper Frederick Township, it's New Haven Township. Lower Frederick has them. There's like 100 houses going to be built right on this end of the township, on the east end. So we have private wells and we have private sewers or private septic systems, the majority of the township. So when we draw the water out, it goes into our septic systems, and then it gets filtered into the land, whatever system you have, and then it goes back down into the aquifer, so the aquifer is replenished. For every single one of these developments that come in, I think I had figured out just with this one down the road, that they're going to pull out like 120,000 gallons a day, and it's all going to go to a sewer plant, and it's all going to go into the stream and go away. So it's called the water budget. We're going to be in a deficit. We talk about deficits. We're going to go into a deficit, and then also what ends up, and it's not just from there. We have what's going on in Lower Frederick and New Hanover. We're going to go into a deficit, and then they call it the cone of depression, which is where you get that reverse funnel, and which is why people's wells run dry. It doesn't mean that there's no water down under there, but there's a whole big procedure to get down deeper, and the water quality gets changed. So there's a whole lot to think about. Like Bill's right, our water is fantastic. When they first started coming out with bottled water, I saw people like, what are they doing? I didn't understand the town water, it was horrible. you know. But I mean, we're very fortunate here, but it can all change fast, so that's where I stand.
So you're good for a per capita increase, is that?
Well,
what you-
based off the comprehensive plan, I think based off the comprehensive plan and what went on in New Hanover Township there, I don't, you know, at some point, we're gonna, you know, you gotta pay for where you live. Hey, there's a reason why they said, you know, people, they got, Martha's Vineyard turned people away. They, you know, they have the quality of life they wanna have, you know, and kids that grow up in our region, I'm like one of the luckiest people to be born in. I recognize how fortunate I am to be born in this township. You know, my life would be drastically different if I grew up just in Boyertown. Boyertown's a good town, you know, but it's a whole different quality of life. You know, I know somebody who used to work for the Green Lake Nature Center, and they used to have kids come out from the city to the Green Lake Park, down where they used to go fly fishing off their river road. They'd have the kids were the 12-year-old boys from the city were deathly afraid when a deer walked out of the woods. I mean, deathly afraid. They were afraid to sit on the ground. You know, the rain. You know, they didn't want to touch the earth. You know, it's just a good way of life. And there's a lot of kids that are going to grow up here just the way I did. They can either grow up like that, or 20 years from now, it could be gone. So I think there's more. I'm very frugal with money. I have to be as a business owner, and we are, you know, in the township, you have to be a fiduciary with the taxpayer money. But at the same time, we all know that money is this much of the equation when you're dealing with quality of life. You got to be able to afford everything, but there's so much more to life than worrying about every dime. So.
It's funny you said that. My daughter had a sleepover this weekend. One of the kids were riding four-wheelers on our place. And like I say, just don't go running around the deer, because I don't want to be able to hunt later this year. Bro goes, "You have deer here?" Yeah, I mean, she was surprised. And I'm like, looking at her like, "What planet are you from?" You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, and so much we take. I personally take it all for granted. You know, the fox running around, everything. You know.
Yeah, me too, buddy.
Damn
Me too,
fox.
buddy.
Well, sometimes I think
got chickens,
that.
right?
Yeah.
I got chickens.
You're in a coop though, right? You're not like.
Yeah, well, no, they free range a lot.
All right.
Your heart will stop when you see the weasels come out.
Yeah, that's my girls, I hate to say it.
George Jones, I live on Clover Lane. I just want to thank all the candidates for coming out tonight and giving us all your good thoughts and just speaking your mind. And I appreciate the candid responses that I've heard tonight. And then along with that, I just have one question for Bill. I want to put you on the spot, but you know, this is going back 3 or 4 meetings ago. You brought up the topic of litigation regarding old administrations and things like that. And then that was hot and heavy there for a while, and then it just kind of fell off. And I just want to know where you stand on that.
I still stand by what I said and what I presented. I'm so happy to be on vacation also,
Okay.
but I'm back now. But it's something that if I'm sitting there, it's something I'm going to bring up to the board.